This year of 2013 is a very special year in Ireland and in Wexford in particular. It marks the 50th anniversary of the visit of President John Fitzgerald Kennedy to County Wexford, first to New Ross and coming on to Wexford town, where John Fitzgerald Kennedy laid a wreath at the memorial statue to Commodore John Barry at Crescent Quay. Later, he moved to Redmond Place, where he was conferred as the 13th Freeman of Wexford. It was a most auspicious occasion and a day that every Wexfordian would remember, as he passed through the streets, the very narrow streets of our town, in an open-topped car. The registration, which is remarkable to note, was GG300. Unfortunately, the same car that President Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas, Texas, in November of the same year. I mentioned the statue of John Barry, Commodore John Barry, which was unveiled in September 1956 by the President of Ireland, Sean T. O'Callaghan.
Here in County Wexford in Ireland is the birthplace of Commodore John Barry, father of the United States Navy. And here is Mrs. Frances Rogers, Barry's great-great-grandniece. Today is a day of remembering, for prominent Irishmen and American naval personnel join in a salute to the Irish lad who rose to fame in his adopted land across the sea. In the rain, a statue was unveiled to the Revolutionary War hero who captured the first British warship taken by the Americans. In 1794, Barry was appointed Commodore and placed in command of the frigate United States. Authorized by Congress, the imposing statue is, in the word of Irish President O'Kelly, a symbol of the deep friendship and fellowship between our two countries.
Commodore John Barry was born in 1745 and died in 1803. He was born at Ballysamson in the parish of Tecumseh. His father was a tenant farmer and unfortunately was evicted by his English landlord, and the family removed to the village of Rosslare. The young Barry got his love of the sea from his father's brother Nicholas Barry, who was captain of a fishing skiff. John Barry began his seafaring career as a ship's cabin boy, graduating from seaman to able seaman and eventually a mate's rating. From Spanish Town in Jamaica, the young Barry sailed to Philadelphia, where he settled down. This city was emerging as a great maritime trade centre, and it was from Philadelphia that Barry gained his skills of command at the helm of several merchant ships flying back and forth from his own port and the West Indies. Known to Philadelphians as Big John, he stood 6'4" in height, an imposing figure and a personable nature. At 21 years of age, he took command of the 60-ton schooner Barbados, owned by Edmund Denny of Philadelphia. Barry was registered as the captain. As time went on, he was master of several ships. Eventually, when the Continental Navy was formed, Barry was given a command of ships and fought in the War of Independence both as sailor and soldier. Commodore John Barry fought at the battles of Princeton and Trenton as a soldier, and on his return to the Navy he fought many successful and victorious sea battles. He fought the last sea battle of the Revolution in March 1783, and on the 27th of February 1797 he received his commission from President George Washington. The County Wexford Irish Catholic boy had become the Commander-in-Chief of the new Navy of the Constitutional United States of America. Barry is buried at St. Mary's Cemetery in Philadelphia. As far back as 1905, President Roosevelt mentioned that some of the American Navy personnel, particularly the Commodores, should be honoured. John Barry was one of those people mentioned. First World War happened, everything went into abeyance. Again, it was mentioned later, the Second World War came about and it was put back again. And through the work of two Wexford people living in America, one was a brother, Aidan Whelan, who was a teacher in New York, and Michael Mitten from Enniscorthy, who was chairman of the Wexford Association in New York. And it was through their insistence, if you like, that they followed through the House of Representatives and Senators and brought forward the idea of having a commemorative statue in Wexford, Ireland. That happened eventually. Monies were allocated for the statue to be sculpted and carried out. The first sculptor, as it happened, it was a man called Charles Keck, who started the work but unfortunately through ill health died. A second sculptor was found, a man called Wheeler Williams, who completed the statue that we see today. Following the sculpting by Wheeler, the statue was cast by the firm of T.J. McGann and eventually was set up to be transported to Ireland. It was crated up, a very large crate, painted green, marked Commodore John Barry Memorial Statue, a gift from the American people to the people of Ireland. It left on the destroyer, the Charles S. Sperry, and it was left at Boston, blessed prior to that by the auxiliary Bishop of New York, Bishop Furlong, and made its way to Ireland. It was met and brought into Irish waters by the Irish corvette, the Maeve, and escorted into Rosslare Bay. And at that time, it was on August the 8th, Wednesday, August the 8th, that the actual statue was landed at the pier in Rosslare. As a matter of interest, the statue was 10 feet in height and 3.5 tons in weight. The Commodore had returned to Wexford, albeit in bronze. Present on the day of the unveiling was Mrs. Frances Rogers and Mr. Warren Sturgis, descendants of Barry. It was Mrs. Rogers' brother, James Barnes, was the model for the Barry statue in Washington. And for the unveiling ceremony, the destroyer John R. Pierce arrived at Rosslare on the 15th of September for the unveiling under the commandership of John T. Garrow. The statue had arrived on the destroyer the Sperry and commanded by Carey H. Hall. It was President Dwight D. Eisenhower who signed off the order for the sculpting, and it was the same man who visited Wexford in August 1962 on a very wet, windy day. And he was at a wreath laying ceremony at the statue of John Barry. On the following year, 1963, President Kennedy arrived in Wexford, came to the statue, laid a wreath at the memorial, and as I have said, received the freedom of Wexford. Very auspicious occasions for Wexfordians.
I will now ask President John Fitzgerald Kennedy to pronounce his address.
Chairman of the Council, Mr. Minister, my friends, I want to express my pleasure at being back from whence I came. There is an impression in Washington that there are no Kennedys left in Ireland, that they're all in Washington, and so I wonder if there are any Kennedys in this audience. Could you hold up your hand and so I can see? Oh, I'm glad to see a few cousins who didn't catch the boat. We're glad to. Seems to me that in these dangerous days, when the struggle for freedom is worldwide against an armed doctrine, that Ireland and its experience has one special significance. And that is that the people's fight, which John Boyle O'Reilly said outlived 1,000 years, that it was possible for a people over hundreds of years of foreign domination and religious persecution, it was possible for that people to maintain their national identity and their strong faith. And therefore, those who may feel that in these difficult times, who may believe that freedom may be on the run, or that some nations may be permanently subjugated and eventually wiped out, would do well to remember Ireland. And I'm proud to come here for another reason, because it makes me even prouder of my own country. My country welcomed so many sons and daughters of so many countries, Irish and Scandinavian and Germans, Italian, and all the rest, and gave them a fair chance and a fair opportunity. The Speaker of the House of Representatives is Irish descent. Leader of the Senate is of Irish descent. And what is true of the Irish has been true of dozens of other people. In Ireland, I think you see something of what is so great about the United States. And I must say that in the United States, through millions of your sons and daughters and cousins, 25 million, in fact, you see something of what is great about Ireland. So I'm proud to be here. I'm proud to have connected on that beautiful golden box the coat of arms of Wexford, the coat of arms of the kingly and beautiful Kennedys, and also and the coat of arms of the United States.